Hello, my name is Jason Buck. I'm a lifelong native of Palos Verdes, and I've been a realtor for about 26 years with RE/MAX Estate Properties. I'm standing on top of Portuguese Bend. This has been in the news a lot lately. They have a historic landslide here, and I wanted to help define some of this. The landslide is compressed volcanic ash known as bentonite, and it's in this area along these hills here. From where I'm standing along this whole hillside to about the far as I can see in this range here, and I understand the sun's in the way, but about that ridge there coming down behind what was Wayfarer's Chapel into this area. And historically this area moved about an inch a month, but because of the severe rains that we had in 22 and 23 or 23 and 24, this area is now moving almost an inch a day. It affects Palos Verdes Drive West, which is at the bottom there, that road, which is really quite difficult to maneuver now with all the different dips and changes. What they used to pave every once a quarter or has now exaggerated to almost every week. They need to fix different parts of it. Pipes are now above ground. This is the upper Portuguese Bend gated neighborhood. The Vanderlip estate was right over there. And that was a historic estate. Vanderlip was the guy who bought Palos Verdes in 1913. But in 1950 or so, 57 perhaps, they were going to take Crenshaw Boulevard from up here and have it come down to Palos Verdes Drive. Well, when they did so, they ruptured a spring, and that fed water into this layer of bentonite. The city of Rancho Palos Verdes just found out by doing hydroggers and drilling that there happened to be two different layers of the bentonite, one at about 130 feet and a second one at 300 feet. The old slip, about an inch a month, was at the 130, and now the deeper slip at 300 feet is moving almost an inch a day. And it's catastrophic for homes in this neighborhood. Now, the neighborhood Upper Portuguese Bend is familiar with land movement. Many homes are raised on stilts, and same with what's called the Flying Triangle in Rolling Hills, which is actually behind me. And then there's a new slide area in Seaview, which is a neighborhood on the other side of this knoll, which is getting pulled into it, and there are several homes in that neighborhood that are now affected. Most importantly, in the last couple weeks, gas has been shut off, and in other areas, electricity has been shut off. So this whole neighborhood is now off the grid. Some of them are using generators to power their homes. This is devastating, and it is a disaster area at this point, as Gavin Newsom has declared. My heart reaches out to them. This landscape is totally different. The vibe, what was a pristine, like no other place in the world area, is now challenged with movement and a lot of real deep frustration and pain. I've heard stories of homeowners that are living in their garage because the house has shifted and is no longer stable, and some people are elderly and they have a generator that's powering them for whatever needs that they have, where now they have to go get gas. So there are so many resources that are just really difficult here, where these people need help, and I'm going to do what I can, and I'm asking other people to help if they can, either by contributing to the link below or offering a generator or extension cords or powered lanterns or propane stuff. A lot of these people are going to be forced to use propane because the gas is now off, or perhaps solar power, as electricity is soon likely to follow in the other neighborhoods. So once again, behind me, Rolling Hills. This area here is Upper Portuguese Bend. There's a gated community that we can't quite see over that knoll, which is Lower Portuguese Bend, and then the Seaview neighborhood over here. I'm really just so motivated to try and help these people, because this was an area that I lived or came to often to enjoy, that is just chaos now. And it's so unfortunate to have such a beautiful area be hurt like this.
Sherry Hastings. I've lived here since 1979. First I was a renter for almost 8 years at the Vanderlips, and then in 86 I think we bought our house down here and moved in a little bit later. So we've lived here a long time, more than 40 years. We've never seen anything like this. We've never seen any kind of movement. Last Christmas, just before Christmas, we had some water pipes break. We didn't think that much of it. Found a small crack. That crack is now about 60 feet deep and 30 feet wide and 80 feet long. It swallowed up a barn that was sort of my pride and joy. That there's no insurance for any of that, and so far eating it. We haven't gotten any funding from the city, from the county, from anybody. We did get a small business loan. We pay back at 2.5%, but in general, they're not enough to cover the damage. Mine was $50,000. So.
And do you have utilities now?
No, right now we have no gas, no electricity. Today we have no water. That's happened about 170 times since the beginning of the year. The water pipes are all above ground, and as they burst, they're repaired, but we're out of water 2 or 3 hours usually when that happens. The sewers are running. That's good, or we wouldn't be able to be here. The citizens got together and got generators to go, wired them up, and got gas and everything for them, and have kept our sewers running since the electricity was turned off. We also have no internet, so.
Yeah. You mentioned that there's a cave down the end of this. There's like a valley here that hasn't been there.
Right, it's called Altamira Canyon, and that canyon runs down from the top of the hill up by Crest and runs on down. And that cave is actually a fissure. The canyon has several fissures in it. So when that water comes from the storm drains, there's 200 and some houses up there, several miles of roads. And yes, we had heavy rains. We had 50-year storms, and those 50-year storms ran into storm drains. And those storm drains ran at pressure right into that fissure and opened it up, and this is the result.
It's really catastrophic. I've lived here 40 plus years and never seen, there's been some movement, but that's different than what we're experiencing now.
And you can see the scarps along there. This one runs, we're probably 2 miles from those. You see those big scarps along there. And it's the same kind of geological activity.
And do you have any kind of measurements about how much we've moved?
Yes, my husband, as I was saying, is an astrophotographer. It's a hobby, and he says at least 50 feet in the west.
And do you feel it's going down too, or just towards?
So this is they call it a rotational and a translational slide. So if you took a cookie and you pulled it apart, you'd have it slipping down probably towards the ocean. It's also sinking as it slips down. So there's some topology under the, or some topography under the ground here, and it's pretty much following that. So there's a layer of volcanic ash called bentonite that is like soapstone when it gets wet, and depending on how the ground is, it literally follows that. I had a fountain in my old barn that we put in, and interestingly it turned vertical at one point.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
went back. So it was like a wave came in, and this is basically a very slow wave that's running through here.
But it's pretty obvious by the looks of this that it's very destructive.
It's very destructive. It's destroyed several homes in the neighborhood.
I'm incredibly sympathetic.
The chapel.
Yeah, the chapel was a big loss. And the chapel had been in an area that wasn't moving for a long time.
That's correct. Yeah, and it had, it had a great foundation. This isn't about foundations. I've seen this thing cut through. Tyson, one of my neighbors, had a foundation 6 feet thick. 6 feet thick.
I know his house, and it's split right in half.
Split it right in half like butter.
It's insane. Well, we are extremely sympathetic to what's happening here and doing our best to try and create a way to help these people survive and also, get back the necessary utilities.
Thank you. Yeah, it is the most beautiful landslide in the world.
That's for sure. Sherry, what do you think the number one thing that people can do to help?
The number one thing that we need to have done here to mitigate this landslide is to line Altamira Canyon. That water comes down from those houses up there, runs right into the fissures, and splits this right open. I want to donate to a cause that'll mitigate the source of the problem rather than the band-aids to fix the after effects, which we appreciate all of that.
Any and every.
Any and all of that is appreciated. The bigger problem and the bigger goal to fix is getting the canyon, getting that water not running down into the fissures in the canyon.
And it's why you have rain gutters on your home. And it's something that I talk about all the time is water management. And here we have a severe need of water management because as it slips down into the deeper layers, it hits that bentonite layer, which is slippery, and that's what's causing all this land to move. So
exactly.
This is not only an incredibly magnificent area just out of its pristine beauty, but it's also historic because of the legacy of Vanderlip and what he created.
Absolutely. It's and the street normally is lined with
Yeah.
pelargonium,
Yeah.
beautiful flowers, and
Yeah.
the trees are trimmed. Right now, it doesn't look itself at all.
Yeah, I feel like I've entered a war zone because I am used to it,
Well, this is
what
sort
it
of a
looked
war
like,
zone.
and it's just nothing like that anymore. There was a four-stall
Eight-stall barn.
8-stall barn here that now
Beautiful
barely
bathrooms
one
and
thing's
lots
left, and it all sank.
Yeah.
And then
So
there's this
it's all
big
sank
fissure here.
Probably 50 feet.
It's really incredible. And feel for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
I've lived in this area since 1975, and we've had some changes over the years, but what we're experiencing now is drastic change. Down below where the whitewater is down there, that used to be shoreline up to the cliffs, which now there's a huge reef offshore, probably the size of 2 or 3 football fields, that was never there before. Actually, it wasn't even there at Christmas. It's come out of the ocean. So the land movement that's happening here, moving down or this way, is causing stuff to come up over there. And it's happening quite quickly. If you look at my other video, you'll see all the land down there that's now above ground, and in some cases still lifting higher. It's remarkable, and it's scary. And I hope that there's a way that we can help them.